Hello, movie lovers. Welcome to another episode of Jim's Movie Musings. And I'm going to get right down to it. This is my pitch for why Spider Man No Way Home should be nominated for an Academy Award for 2021's Best Picture. Okay, so we all know that it's made something like $1.7 billion at the box office. We know that it's, basically set the fandom world on fire. We know that it's got a stellar rating at Rotten Tomatoes. What we also know is that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is notorious for ignoring comic book movies unless they represent cultural watershed moments like 2018's Black Panther, or unless they kind of disguise themselves as not comic book movies like 2019's Joker. That said, there isn't necessarily this quote unquote genre bias that everyone's talking about that stacks the odds against No Way Home. I mean, I respectfully submit that if genre bias were as bad a problem as people said it was, then 2018's Into the Spider-Verse would not have won the Best Animated Feature Oscar. I mean, it was up against a Pixar and a Disney animation movie in that year. So the fact that it still came away with the gold means that the Academy isn't completely tone deaf. Oh yeah, and a lot of people forget that a few years before Spider-Verse took home the biggest, the biggest prize for animated films, uh, a Disney film based on a Marvel comic called Big Hero 6 did exactly the same thing. Okay? But what I want to focus on is this argument that No Way Home can't quote unquote get nominated for Best Picture because there are already quote unquote blockbuster films waiting to snatch up that one token slot for commercial films. There are some writers who are basically saying, no, that slot's gonna go to Dune, or no, that slot's gonna go to No Time to Die, the latest James Bond movie. And well, these naysayers are ignoring the inconvenient truth that when the Academy re-expanded its film of Best Picture nominees from 5 to 10 back in 2010, they included quite a few blockbusters in their roster. I mean, the 2010 Academy Awards didn't just include Avatar, it included a sci-fi movie, District 9, and it included Up. Okay, both of which they were unabashedly, Up at least was unabashedly commercial. And the year after that, the Academy didn't just nominate Christopher Nolan's Inception, but it also nominated the biggest movie of 2010, which was Toy Story 3. Now, Toy Story 3 it's one of Pixar's better ones. Okay, it got stellar reviews and all of that. But Toy Story 3, and let's not kid ourselves here, is every inch as commercial as any Marvel movie. They sell merch from Toy Story 3. They sell tickets to rides at Disneyland. I should know, I've ridden one of them. So for pundits to say no, they're not going to nominate a Marvel movie because it's designed to make money. You know what? Screw you. Okay? Because quite frankly, the Academy has had no problems in the past nominating overly commercial movies. And yeah, my best evidence for that is Toy Story 3. And well, on the other hand, and working again in Spider-Man No Way Home's favor is the fact that genre movies, even though they have not had the most stellar track record next to the art house fare, is that they've still done pretty well for themselves. I've already mentioned Into the Spider-Verse. I've already mentioned Black Panther. But let's talk about Lord of the Rings. Sure, that's a unique thing. The 3 Lord of the Rings movies were nominated for Best Picture, and the third one won it all. I think it still has some kind of record for most Oscars won in a year, or at least it's tied with some other movie. And that was back when when Warner Brothers and New Line had made these movies purely to adapt the books and not as part of some overarching commercial empire. Because as soon as Warner Brothers went back to that well with the Hobbit films, the Academy basically ignored them except for some token nominations. Okay, but the point here is that genre films, they're not the pariahs that these writers, that these pundits make them out to be. Okay, and there is precedent for nominating a film that is overtly commercial. Okay, for as long as the storytelling is just rock solid. And to my mind, the storytelling of No Way Home, the performances, the overall craft is at least as good as what we saw in Toy Story 3, if not even better, because this was every inch the emotional roller coaster that Toy Story 3 was for the fans who grew up with that movie, that series. Well, Spider-Man No Way Home offers a similar experience, and hopefully the Academy will recognize that. And that's my pitch. I know there are still people who disagree, and that's just the way it is. But my 2 cents worth is that this is a movie that deserves to be recognized beyond box office receipts, beyond just selling tickets and the merch. This is a movie that deserves to be recognized for what it is, the movie that single-handedly saved the theatrical movie-going experience.